What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. There are a lot of Ubisoft titles that are going to be coming out that I'm really excited about. One of those guys that is one that we haven't heard a ton of information about, but one that I'm really intrigued by is Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I gotta say, full disclosure, guys, I've never played the first Beyond Good and Evil, which I definitely plan on doing at some point here in the future, because after watching the initial reveals and such for Beyond Good and Evil 2, I gotta say, I'm pretty intrigued, and I think that this is a game that I may very well enjoy. I really want to just see more information about it. So what I wanted to go ahead and do in this segment of the show is talk about everything that we know so far about Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, but the things that you want to see as far as, as this continuation of this franchise moves forward. So let's get into it. So in an article, guys, written by Andrew Hayward, Emma Boyle, and Vic Hood of Tech Radar, breaking the surface of Beyond Good and Evil. We've been waiting a long time for the sequel to Beyond Good and Evil, the action-adventure classic that originally released in 2003. But after many delays, Ubisoft finally announced at E3 2017 that a prequel was in the works, Beyond Good and Evil 2. While the prospect of a new Beyond Good and Evil has seemed shaky for almost a decade, Ubisoft's cinematic trailer at E3 2018 suggests it was definitely worth the wait, and I agree 100% with that. However, beyond the announcement, we haven't heard much in the way of solid details about Beyond Good and Evil 2. How will it differ from the original? What will be the same? How will the online multiplayer work? And what was Joseph Gordon-Levitt got to do with all of it? So, let's cut to the chase here. What is it? An open universe sci-fi action RPG, which is something, guys, that I am excited about. What can we play it on? Nothing's official, but likely PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now, the thing about it is, guys, that this article was written back in 2019. So with that, you always kind of have to take this with a grain of salt, because most likely, guys, we're not getting on the PS4, the Xbox One, PC. We probably would have already heard confirmation of that. So my assumption is this is going to be a next-gen title without a doubt, guys. At this point in time, right here, right now, it's definitely going to be coming out on the next-gen consoles, unless something changes drastically in the next couple of months. Now, guys, we've already had a couple of, cinematic trailers from like 2018 and 2017 as well. Now, though Beyond Good and Evil 2 made no appearance at E3 2019, there was still a live stream in June from the development team. In this stream, the team dished out some new gameplay details and some concept art. It was explained that in the game, everyone in System 3 is a clone, while hybrids are made by crossing the DNA of humans and animals. Some of these hybrids are used as slaves in the mining and collection of a valuable and dangerous mineral called diwellite. You, the player, will be a space pirate, and you'll be able to choose whether you are a human or a hybrid. You'll also be able to rescue these slave hybrids and recruit them to your crew. Overall, though, the game will give you plenty of freedom to craft your own story. And so what I gotta say, guys, is like, just the premise alone really has me intrigued. Now, like I said, this really gets me to want to try out the first Beyond Good and Evil. I, of course, heard of the game. I heard of this, this franchise as a whole, but, I just never gave it a try. But of course, after seeing this, guys, it certainly seems to me, at least from a graphical standpoint, from even a story perspective, it looks like they are making some real leaps and bounds here from the first one to now the second one. Now, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the reveal at E3 2018 also clued us into a collaboration with Joseph Gordon-Levitt Hit Record Company to produce user-generated content that will make it into the final game. People around the world will be able to contribute all sorts of content with hopes of it making it into the final product. Now, we now know the game will be a prequel to the original, with a younger Jade taking up the role of the antagonist. Players will be able to play cooperatively in the open world, and they don't even have to remain near each other at all. You'll be able to create your very own space pirate and explore the universe in your very own spaceship. From what we've seen of the game so far, the game is astonishingly large and utterly seamless, and you can move from city streets to sky to space to outer space without any loading screens at all. What I'll say about that, guys, is this kind of reminds me of games like No Man's Sky, that there's a huge universe to explore. Now, is it as big as No Man's Sky? We'll have to wait and see on that, but it sounds like this is a massive game, and it's something that obviously looks like they've been working on for a long time. This could be a really big game, guys, to really explore and enjoy over a course of the journey between co-ops, between multiplayer, the campaign and such. This sounds like a massive expansive universe that you're able to traverse on your own. Now, as far as online play is concerned, guys, Michael Ansel has said the game will be playable online, which falls in line with Ubisoft's shift towards securing long-term player engagement from its games. At the moment, it's still not clear how online play will actually work. It could be a separate model with individual matches, or it could work more like Far Cry 5, which allows players to go through the entirety of the main game with a friend. We hope it's the latter. Own more than one ship. Players will be able to own multiple ships, increasing their scale and crew size as they go. Once a player has a larger ship, they'll be able to store their smaller main man dogfighting vessels inside it. Furthermore, the environments will be somewhat destructible, allowing parts of buildings to be demolished, but not entire large structures apparently. And then, of course, there's extensive exploration, guys. Furthermore, exploration will apparently be a big theme, and you will be able to fly from a planet into space seamlessly without loading times, much like in No Man's Sky. There will also be spaceships of varying sizes, including vast ones that can hold smaller ones within. Ansel also talks a bit about the world in which these characters exist, with the social structure seemingly keeping these hybrid creatures down, along with the vile threat of slavery. He suggests that the crew you see in the Gata ship, comprised of varying hybrids and humans of different origins, showcases the diverse message that the game hopes to convey despite the ugliness in the world. It's exactly the heart of Beyond Good and Evil 2, he explains. And so here's the other thing. They got a brand new game engine, guys, which is pretty obvious. Ubisoft has revealed that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is being worked on using a brand new game engine called Voyager. To capture Michael Ansel's vision for the game and create a world as large as this game's one will be, a brand new game engine was completely necessary, and the tech for it has been in development for the past 3 years, which is a big deal, guys. Now, this is pretty big for me, because when we talk about the franchise's history, it looks like they are really trying to ramp this up in a major way. Now, I'm hoping between Beyond Good and Evil 2 and 3, we're not going to have as many years as we did between the first one and the second one, but it sounds like they've really put so much into Beyond Good and Evil 2 that it sounds like this is going to be a game that, withstands a long stretch of time. As of now, only one game has been released in the series, the original Beyond Good and Evil, which hit PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC back in 2003. Photojournalist Jade's quest to investigate and uncover an alien conspiracy leads to a grand and diverse adventure spanning stealth navigation, melee combat, puzzle-solving, photography, and even racing. Slick art direction, entertaining action, compelling characters, and story threads made Beyond Good and Evil a fan favorite, even if the game wasn't a sales success, which that was one of the big things to me, guys, that I really was wondering if this was ever going to get a sequel, because I remember seeing back, way back in like 2004, 2005, the Beyond Good and Evil, like the sales charts, it didn't do that well. Like, even though people really enjoyed it, they said that the sales was not a massive success. And so I didn't think that this would be something that would get a sequel. But obviously I was wrong. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was first announced all the way back in 2008, the very odd teaser trailer which sets the tone for a version of the game we may never experience. It shows Jade and Peach on the side of the road with a broken hover car as Peach snorts and digests passing flies. Quite a change from what we eventually saw at E3 2017. In 2009, meanwhile, a leaked video, which looks like target gameplay footage, shows an acrobatic Jade winding her way through a busy city as she climbs, runs, takes out guards, and eventually grabs hold of a helicopter and escapes. And what we'd like to see, guys, this is pretty big. We'd like to see the actual game most of all. The trailer is rich and inviting and clearly shows a lot of work and attention being paid to Beyond Good and Evil 2 game's world. Ansel's trailer breakdown video offers some hints with the promise of a huge vertical world, cooperative online play of some sort, and the ability to jet off into space without worrying about loading screens or other frustrating breaks in the action. Which I'll be interested to see that, guys. I would love to see a massive game not really have any loading screens. It almost sounds too good to be true, but we'll have to, kind of wait and see as we get more information along the way. Our hope is that Beyond Good and Evil Spirit doesn't get lost in the vastness of that open concept. The game retains its individuality despite opening up and bringing in some level of multiplayer action. Based on the trailer, we are definitely encouraged about the tone and distinctiveness of the game, although besides the whole matter of how the actual game looks and plays, there are still questions about when we'll get to play it and on which devices. So, with that, guys, as far as a beta is concerned, we really don't know. I honestly, I don't even know if we're actually probably going to get a beta for this title. I mean, I certainly think it's possible, guys, but as far as the beta is concerned, I wouldn't put too much stock into a beta at this point in time. Even though they may want to do that to test bugs and things of that nature, but I actually think that we're probably going to hear more about Beyond Good and Evil 2, most likely at some point next year, 2021, because Ubisoft Forward, you would think that they would have announced something. Now, they showed a quick snippet of Beyond Good and Evil 2, but I don't believe it was anything that we hadn't already seen. And so what I'm getting at is we got no information about Beyond Good and Evil 2 at Ubisoft Forward. That was all about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It was about Far Cry 6. It was about, Watch Dogs Legion. It was about some of these other titles that are coming out this year or early 2021. So I would say Beyond Good and Evil 2 is probably going to come out in late 2021, maybe even 2022 potentially, guys. This is a game that, with how expansive and large it is, may just, take a while until we actually see the light, until it sees the light of day. But with that, guys, I'd love to hear from all of you. At this point in time, this is what we know so far about the game. What do you guys think about Beyond Good and Evil 2? What are you most excited about? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Beyond Good and Evil 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel a number of times, guys, about the Elder Scrolls franchise, and in particular, Elder Scrolls 6 and, what this continuation of the franchise may very well look like and the things that we would like to see. Well, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about everything that we want out of Elder Scrolls 6. And when I say we, guys, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinions here, which some of you may agree with, some of you may disagree with, but let me know in the comment section down below all the things that you would like to see in Elder Scrolls 6. So let's get into it. So guys, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. This game, came back all the way back in November of 2011. So we're talking a long time ago, and so we've been really excited about Elder Scrolls 6, the continuation of this franchise moving forward. What I will say is this, is that Elder Scrolls 6, I believe it's going to be worth the wait, and well worth the wait. But at number one for me, guys, as far as one of the big things that I'd like to really see out of this is, some new locations, some new environments, new enemies, and things of that nature, as it compares to, let's just say, Skyrim, for example, because everyone loves Skyrim in a major way overall. So I think what would be important with Elder Scrolls 6 is that you have differences. You got some similarities to, the past and nods to the past like Skyrim, but you also have those significant differences. I think it's important that we're going to be exploring new places. We're going to be, fighting new enemies. We're going to maybe fighting some similar enemies from the other games, but we're also fighting new enemies. You're coming up to new characters and things of that nature, as well as existing characters. So it feels like Elder Scrolls, but you've got those differences that make it seem completely different. And there's going to be real differences, guys, I'm sure, when we talk about from a, graphical standpoint. Those things are probably going to be pretty apparent moving into Elder Scrolls 6. We'll have to wait and see, because at this point in time, there's no confirmation on when we're going to be seeing further, gameplay and such, or really any type of teaser trailer, even though we did get a teaser trailer, but a further gameplay trailer or cinematic trailer of Elder Scrolls 6. So that would be the first thing, is those new environments, those new locations, those new characters, those new enemies is going to be really important moving into this game. For me, guys, another big thing that I would love to see is, more things to do along the journey. Now, look, Skyrim, they did a great job of creating this world in which, as you're traveling, as you're on that journey, there are things to do along the way, but I feel like they need to even have more, kind of even a step further. I'm not even just talking about from a campaign perspective. And from a story perspective of having just like more campaign missions, I'm talking even more side missions, having just things that you can do along the journey, whether it be, learning more, finding other collectibles, finding, all kinds of different, things outside of, the main missions and even side missions that you can explore. Other things that you're able to do, I think is really important to kind of bring you back to the experience over and over again, where there's new things to do and there's a lot to see and do along the course of the journey that is Elder Scrolls 6. And that leads me to the next thing, guys, which I think is going to be really important, that there are a number of earnable items and earnable items over that are payable items. I think when you have things that are earnable, you have people who will put a lot of time into a game just to earn certain items. When you have payable items, you can just pay to get them. It doesn't feel very rewarding whatsoever. And we know Bethesda, being one of those companies that, got sucked into the whole, microtransactions and things of that nature, which is fine, but at the end of the day, it has gotten them in some trouble. So I think for me, I would really like to see Elder Scrolls 6 have more earnable items than payable items. That leads me to the multiplayer side, which Elder Scrolls Online, guys, regardless of what you think about it, some people love it, some people hate it. What it's done is it has brought people back to Elder Scrolls consistently. And so I think you need to see an evolution of that moving into Elder Scrolls 6. And once again, earnable items over payable items, I think is going to be really important with Elder Scrolls 6. It's going to get people to come back to the game, and I think it's actually going to grow the fan base in a major way, where people are earning things throughout the multiplayer, earning things throughout the course of the campaign. And then if there are co-op modes, which I'm hoping there are co-op modes as well in Elder Scrolls 6, having ways in which that you can have collectibles and earnable items throughout the course of the co-op missions and just co-op in general. So kind of expanding upon Elder Scrolls Online, I think is going to be really important for this upcoming title. And that leads me, guys, into the last part of this is I would love to see some free-to-play elements to Elder Scrolls 6 just to really build this fan base. Now, whether you're talking from a multiplayer perspective like Elder Scrolls Online, whether you're talking about some of the campaign missions, whether you're talking about certain campaign missions as a whole being free to play, we look at the grand landscape of AAA titles out there. You'll look at Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, you're looking at Apex, Valorant, all these different titles, whether they're Battle Royale or just multiplayer game modes. Being free to play really helps build these fan bases in a major way. And so I'd love to see that with Elder Scrolls 6. I think it would be a really good idea to bring a lot of people back to playing Elder Scrolls that may have played Skyrim back in 2011 who don't play Elder Scrolls Online and some of these other, game modes. I think it would be really important for Elder Scrolls 6. You bring everyone back, you have those free to play game modes, whether it's online, whatever it might be, to play. I think that would be really huge for this franchise moving forward. But those are the things that I would like to see in Elder Scrolls 6. Let me know, guys, in the comment section down below, what do you guys want to see in Elder Scrolls 6? Let me know down there. And for more Elder Scrolls 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The Metal Gear franchise has become a staple in gaming, guys, but I think that, like any franchise out there, we have seen peaks and valleys with this franchise, and, all other franchises have usually had at least one game that, doesn't do as well. There's always those valleys when there's all those different, peaks and such throughout the course of a video game franchise. And like I said, Metal Gear is no different. We've had all these great games in the Metal Gear series. We've also had some downfalls, one of those being most recently Metal Gear Survive, and I think a lot of people overall did not enjoy the game that much. Now, there are some that enjoyed it, but I think the overarching, community and fan base of Metal Gear did not really enjoy Survive. And I think, guys, many people are calling for this series to be done at this point, but I wanted to talk about Metal Gear Solid 6. This is a game that there's been some rumblings, some talk about. There's been people thinking that there will be a continuation of this franchise at some point or another in the future. I'm one of those people that really wants to see a continuation here, guys. I think it needs to be done in a way in which that we all feel good about, of course, but I think that this is a staple in gaming that deserves to continue and coexist with other games out there. So let's get into everything that we would like to see in Metal Gear Solid 6. You'll begin my opinions. I'd love to hear yours in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So guys, Metal Gear Survive. This is a game that came out back in 2018. So we're coming up on, a couple of years here, right? It's past, couple of years, and, look, there's rumblings, there's talk that Metal Gear Solid 6 is in development, secretly in development. There's actually also been talk that Hideo Kojima may very well be coming back to actually work on Metal Gear Solid 6 as well as Silent Hills, which would be a very interesting ordeal if this were to be true. That leads me to the first thing I'd like to see. I would really want to see Hideo Kojima come back to this franchise one last time, kind of like the farewell of, Hideo Kojima, and maybe even conclude the franchise as a whole. Look, this has been a franchise that's gone on for a period of time, and I do think that it should continue, but if it's going to be done in a way like Survive, where there were just many different, things within it that we just didn't like as a fan base, I almost just think that they need to kind of put it to the wayside and start working on other and like new IPs and such. Because I don't want a franchise to be completely, ruined, or, all of my memories that I've had of the past Metal Gear games. And then with the new ones, they're just not nearly as good. So one thing I'd like to see is Hideo Kojima come in and do one last Metal Gear game, which honestly, guys, we honestly have no idea if that's going to happen. It very well may not happen. Obviously, he's working on Death Stranding. He's probably going to be working on a Death Stranding 2, potentially Silent Hills. And any other IPs that he may decide to work on. And so with that, guys, I would like to see him kind of pass the torch on to someone else. If, in fact, he does come back to do Metal Gear Solid 6, he kind of gives the torch to someone else. He picks the team to kind of work and move this series in the right direction. I think that would be a really good idea, because I feel like with Metal Gear Survive, just overall, the team over there, just a lot of them moved with Hideo Kojima when he left the company. And so I just think it's really important that happens moving into, Metal Gear, Solid 6. The next thing for me, guys, is, when you got this action-adventure game that kind of turned into more of like, obviously a survival game within Metal Gear Survive. But I would really like there to be like this semi-open world to this open world element to Metal Gear Solid 6. I do think, guys, there's got to be some changes. There has to be some new additions. There's got to be things that are, existing that have, come up in the past, that being like characters, enemies, environments, locations, and things of that nature. I think it's really important overall, guys, that there are changes, but there's also similarities to other Metal Gear games. Preferably not Survive, but what I'm getting at is this. Some characters you got to move on from at some point or another, or you don't take the helm as like one of these main characters and you kind of move on to some new characters, which is okay. But I do think that there needs to be, a nod to the past. There also needs to maybe be some of those existing characters that were in the series before Survive need to come back, need to be there, and kind of move the series forward in a major way. But also having new enemies, some new characters that come into the fray, some new locations, obviously, new places to explore and learn more about the lore, the story of Metal Gear. And I think also, having existing enemies, having existing locations, places that feel familiar are really important as well. That leads me to the next thing, guys, which I think is really, something that's going to be important moving into Metal Gear Solid 6 is having a dedicated multiplayer and co-op modes that you can play together with your friends, having multiplayer modes that get you coming back to the game over and over again. After you're done beating the campaign of Metal Gear Solid 6, having ways that you can come back, play with your friends, play by yourself, whatever it might be. Because at the end of the day, that really brings that engagement. That's one of my biggest, knocks on Death Stranding, which is Hideo Kojima's newest game, is look, there's after you beat the campaign, there's not a lot of reasons to come back to playing Death Stranding afterwards because look, it's a great campaign. I really enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of people who had mixed feelings about Death Stranding. I enjoyed it a lot, but the problem is that after you beat the campaign, there's not many more reasons to come back afterwards. Usually move on to another game. So I think it's really important that there are multiplayer modes, co-op modes that keep you coming back over and over again throughout the course of the history of that game. That's one of the most important things in my personal opinion. That leads me, guys, to the last thing, which is some free-to-play elements. I think that, a lot of, with Konami, it would be a real nod to the fan base and the community if they were to have some free-to-play elements to Metal Gear Solid 6. That being like maybe the multiplayer modes, maybe the co-op modes, maybe certain campaign missions or DLC or whatever it might be. Having free-to-play elements of Metal Gear Solid 6 is going to bring everyone back to at least try it. And if they enjoy it a lot, then they'll stay, right? And because I think a lot of people left the community after Metal Gear Survive. And so this would help bring people back, lure people back to at least try it. And if it's done well and right, very well may be able to really regain the trust and excitement of previous fans of the franchise. So free-to-play elements, guys, preferably like the multiplayer elements, which is what most people are going to be playing, after the campaign is done. But even some co-op stuff, whether it's, campaign missions or DLC and things of that nature, could really do well if they were to make those free to play. But with that, guys, those are the things that I would like to see in Metal Gear Solid 6. What do you guys want to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Metal Gear Solid 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Outriders, which, guys, you guys can check out all of my Outriders content here on the YouTube channel. This is a game that is supposed to be, in my opinion, a spiritual successor to Gears of War. And I gotta say, I love this take on Outriders and what they're trying to kind of do here. I love the idea that this is supposed to be a spiritual successor to one of my favorite games of all time, that being Gears of War. Outriders has its own flavor, its own kind of, identity, so to speak, within this game. And obviously we haven't been able to get our hands on experience with this game as of yet. However, I gotta say I'm pretty excited about it. And in this segment of the show, I want to talk about the top 5 things that we want in Outriders. And when I say we, guys, I'm giving you guys my opinions here, which some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. But either way, guys, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below about what things that you want to see in Outriders. So let's get into it. So for me, guys, coming in at number 1, one of the most important things, in my opinion, guys, when it comes to Outriders, a brand new IP coming out from People Can Fly, which, as well as being published by Square Enix, I think one of the most important things is to be yourself, to be your own game. Even though it's going to be a spiritual successor to Gears of War, I think it's going to be really important that this is a title that really has its own, own gameplay, own mechanics, and it doesn't take too much from Gears of War. And I gotta say, guys, it looks like from the gameplay, the mechanics, and things of that nature that we've seen at this point, it looks like it's going to be its own thing overall. It feels like Gears of War feels a little bit like Destiny. It's got like its own flavor on this genre, a third-person shooter that looks to be something pretty special, and I gotta say, I'm excited about it, to say the least. Coming in, though, at number 2 is what I'd love to see out of this game is a semi-open world setting within the campaign. I think it would be really cool, guys, especially with a brand new IP. And Outriders can, of course, learn from the mistakes, the failures, as well as the successes of Gears of War. And I think one of the things that would have been really cool with Gears of War from the start would have been having a semi-open world setting where you can explore things in a major way. And I think that with Outriders, this could be really helpful. Having a semi-open world where you're not necessarily a full open world, but a semi-open world where you can explore, where you can learn more about the story, the lore that is Outriders. I think that could be really helpful moving into this title. I think it could give you a ton of just, backstory and history here so that you feel like you can connect more with these characters because these are going to be brand new characters in this brand new IP. So I think it's going to be really important to have like a semi-open world setting. However, guys, I wouldn't mind if it's just like a linear story overall, but I would love that semi-open world feeling to say the least. At number 3, guys, for me, is this kind of gets us to more so the multiplayer, but it also is relatable to the campaign. Now, a lot of the Gears of War titles, guys, the things that you do in some of these titles, I should say, in Gears of War, it's had a history of whatever you do in the campaign that translates over to the multiplayer. Whatever you do in the multiplayer translates to the horde mode or to whatever modes there are. This is something I would similarly like to see in Outriders. I would like to see where you're able to get earnable items, and those earnable items are good within the campaign. They're good within the multiplayer elements. Any kind of co-op modes that may come into Outriders. I think having it where everything that you're earning within the game, so it gets you to want to continue playing the game over time. Having those earnable items over the payable items that we've seen so recently and so like, pretty much all the time within gaming, the microtransactions that kind of just really are put into all these games at this point, I would really like to see with Outriders. I'd like to see earnable items over payable items because I think that having earnable items gets people to come back to the game over and over again. When you're in the in-game lobbies waiting for a game and a match to start in multiplayer, you can kind of see what other people's ranks are. You can see what emblems and titles they have. You can see how much time they've put into the game. That gets other people excited and gets people to want to put their time and their stamp on the game as well. So I think having earnable items over payable items makes a ton of sense, especially for a brand new IP. Don't have a bunch of microtransactions that are going to kind of like dilute the experience, so to speak. Coming in, guys, at number 4, I would love to see a variety here when we talk about, map sizes, characters, weaponry, things of that nature. A lot of variety here. And it looks like there is going to be some variety, of course. And this is mainly related to the multiplayer experience, guys. I just want to see a lot of variety here. From what we've seen so far, it didn't look like there was a ton of variety. Now, of course, they're only showing us so much within the game so far, but I just want to see a bunch of variety. The cover system looks very apparent here in Outriders, similar to that of like Gears of War. Some of the abilities look similar to that of like Destiny. And so they've got something really special here. I just want to see a nice variety though, where it doesn't I just don't want all the maps to look like this sandy, grainy feel. I kind of want it to have a variety, right? It's okay to have some maps that are sandy, some maps that are, have like, waterfalls and tropical rainforests and things of that nature. Having a lot of variety, I think, in the multiplayer experience is going to really get you, to want to like explore some of these maps, explore and like really get better at the best way in which you can strategize around playing the game. I think that's going to be really important. Having a number of different unlockable characters, unlockable weaponry, even, weapon skins and things of that nature. Like I said, earnable over payable, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with having payable things, guys. I just think making the earnable items look way better than the payable items. Like making it look more appealing to be earning stuff within the game, I think is going to be really important. So having that variety, though, guys, is going to be extremely helpful. And then coming in, guys, at number 5, for me, one of the biggest ways I believe that Outriders is going to set itself apart from some of these other games that come out is going to be like free-to-play elements of the game. And obviously, I'm not saying, and I say this all the time, but I think that a new IP like Outriders, having like a free-to-play multiplayer experience or having, free-to-play co-op experiences, whatever it might be, will really get people to try it out. You look at the grand landscape of games out there, guys, these AAA titles like Call of Duty, Fortnite and Apex and now, Hyperscape and Valorant and all these different games that are free to play or have elements that are free to play. Outriders could really do well if they made like their multiplayer experiences free to play, because it's going to get people to at least try it out, and it may even really help build the fan base in a major way over time. So I would love to see that, guys, out of Outriders. just having elements that are free to play, and especially if you make it free to play, then it like justifies having more payable items within the game. And I just think that it would really help, especially with a brand new IP from People Can Fly. I don't anticipate there being a lot of free to play mechanics and elements to this game, but I would love to see that, to say the least, guys, especially from a multiplayer perspective. But those are the top 5 things, guys, that I would like to see in Outriders. What would you guys like to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Outriders content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.